The Grey Wolves, a Turkish ultra-nationalist organization, is being banned from EU countries. Who are they? Where do they come from? And what are their goals? In the aftermath of World War II, Europe was devastated by all the fighting. France, Germany, Italy, and the lowlands, which had seen the brunt of the fighting on the Western Front and Allied bombing, had seen extremely high casualties. They developed a system of Gastarbeiters, which is German for guest workers, to receive workers and laborers from other countries on a temporary basis. Communist Eastern Europe also had a similar system, but focused instead on countries from the communist bloc. Those countries initiated the system following labor shortages, where people would rotate in and out to work in the countries. At first, this was for workers from other European countries, but Turkey was eventually included due to continued labor shortages, despite fears that the cultural gap would be too large to bridge. The system worked, economic growth continued, and Europe rebuilt. Except the migrants didn't return home. Germany at one point tried to pay 10,500 Deutschmarks to get Gastarbeiters to return home, plus 1,500 for the spouse and per child, but the opportunities back in their home countries just weren't enough, and so they stayed, leading to significant Turkish minorities in Europe. Turkey, which gives automatic citizenship to anyone of Turkish descent, has ensured that the ties with the motherland remain strong, even for the third-generation descendants of Gastarbeiters. When the Turks failed to integrate and subsequently had no economic opportunity, with 60% of foreign-born children leaving schools in Germany in the 1980s without qualifications, they joined organizations such as the Grey Wolves, which gave them a sense of purpose and a belief of racial superiority. Extremism is usually the consequence of adverse economic conditions. The Grey Wolves started as a split-off youth organization from the MHP, the Turkish Nationalist Party, in the 1960s, which was then led by a man called Alparslan Turks, a politician who served as Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey. Turks was, according to a legal case in the 1980s, described as a man longing for a fascist dictatorship. Its goals are to promote pan-Turkism and the spreading of Turkish culture across the globe and having all Turkic people live under one country. The party from which the Grey Wolves stemmed used propaganda methods similar to those in Hitler's Germany and Mussolini's Italy to mobilize young people, and used the same methods to condition and alienate the brains of the youth. The Grey Wolves, as a youth organization, operates informally, as sport or cultural associations, or in mosques, where they can recruit and spread their ideology. The synergy is part of a wider Turkish influence campaign, which trains and sends imams to Western Europe. The Turkish government has in the past not hesitated to make use of the Grey Wolves and their extremist tactics, usually giving them dirty work, such as political assassinations or committing war crimes, and later granting them amnesty. The nationalist MHP party, which is the source of the Grey Wolves, currently shares power with the AKP, the Justice and Development Party, which is led by the Turkish president, Recep Erdogan. Erdogan has also expressed support for the group, which serves Turkey's foreign interests, and has made the group's signature wolf-shaped hand gestures at rallies. The movement's nationalist ideology has led it to harassing and murdering Turkey's Armenian and Kurdish ethnic minorities, both within and outside Turkey, and have seen them participate in the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh. The Grey Wolves were also implicated in a high-profile assassination attempt on the Pope in 1981. The Grey Wolves serve a purpose in the Turkish government's agenda, both to influence the significant Turkish diasporas and to intimidate other minorities. The 20,000-strong activists of the Grey Wolves in Germany support the current Turkish government and ensure that the rest of the community falls in line to support it as well. This translates into political power in Turkey, where the Turkish diaspora participates in heavily.
This wasn't Istanbul or Ankara. A mass show of support for Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been held in the German city of Cologne. Germany's home to some 3 million people of Turkish origin. At least 20,000 gathered to back Turkey's leader.
And Turkish politicians have tried to campaign in other European countries ahead of 2018 elections, but they were banned from doing so. This also translates into political power in European countries themselves, where Turks form sizable minorities and can vote in elections. This is a picture of Sebastian Kurz, the current Chancellor of Austria, who, despite having adopted a harsh tone against Turkey, is posing with Turkish voters after an election. See their hands? The Grey Wolf gesture. The Grey Wolves threaten members of the Turkish opposition and minorities in Germany to prevent them from amassing influence, and to make sure they fall in line with their objectives, or in other words, the Turkish government's objectives, pushing the Turkish minority to vote Erdogan for the Turkish elections and to elect Turkey-friendly politicians in local elections, as well as pushing back against other minority groups such as Armenians and Kurds who have seen persecution in Turkey from gaining influence in the countries. The desecration of a memorial for the Armenian genocide in Lyon by the Grey Wolves featured Erdogan's initials on it. This, along with the heating of Franco-Turkish relations over tensions in the Eastern Mediterranean and the defense of Mohammed cartoons by French President Emmanuel Macron, has culminated into France banning the Grey Wolves, which served to advance the Turkish agenda in the country. As the relationship between Turkey and the rest of Europe further degrades, more bans can be expected, with the German opposition now pushing for a ban on the Grey Wolves as well. Because of the way the movement is entrenched within wider Turkish society, hidden under the guise of sport and cultural associations, and because of the uncertainty of how far governments will go to weed it out, France and other countries' bans will have little effect. This was Inter Europe. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for the latest updates and analysis on European news.